Maybe Jeremy can manage that?
It's, you remember the last meeting for me when I was like, I gotta go? It's kind of that same, I probably gotta get it.
Just turning it down a little bit, I think, will help.
Okay, well,
Melanie,
let's,
we've turned it down for them.
It's the room. It's, even when we used to play gigs in this room, it was terrible. It was murder.
yeah.
You know, the
Here we are.
Oh,
1,
Melanie-
2, 3,
Melanie's
4,
with us now.
5, 6, and 7. Alan's out there too.
Holy moly, look at that. Okay,
we
well,
don't have
then
enough
I'm gonna call the
microphones
meeting-
for, oh, we do
I'm
over
going to call the
there.
meeting to order. So I'm going to call to order our Mount Shasta Planning Commission special meeting, Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. Do we have a flag? So we can do the flag salute.
Right there.
Bravo. Okay, flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 2 is roll call, please. Who is going to take care of roll call for us?
Tucson.
What do you want me to take?
Call
the-
roll call.
Oh, I don't
Well,
know.
usually our planner does it. City staff usually takes care of that, but maybe we don't know everyone.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not sure how effective I'd be at that.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Tucson, take it away.
Okay.
Start here.
show us some.
G-
Sure.
Commissioner Beck,
Here.
Commissioner McDowell. Here. Commissioner Higuera,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Voyager.
Voyager,
Voyager's the last name. Yes,
Commissioner Finley,
here.
Present.
and Commissioner
Pardee.
Pardee.
And Tucson. Serial.
Where's Alan?
Is Alan here?
He was
He was here.
loud and clear. You've lost Alan.
Okay, well, let's hope for the best on that. All right, did you get the roll call?
Yes.
Whoever's taking minutes. Okay, lovely. All right, so tonight's a special meeting. We only have one item on the agenda, which is the Mountain Cannabis Architectural Review. So staff, please go ahead. Kyle?
Can you guys turn it up a little, please?
I was speaking quietly.
That's the problem. There we go.
How do I sound on it? Is that good?
It's more the frequency than the volume.
Right. Well, thank you, Melanie. Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Rothbone. I'm a contract planner with TRC, here with the city to help fill some planning needs in this interim period for the department. I can begin by giving a brief project description of this Mountainside Cannabis project. So this is a architectural review for the development of a 3,200 square foot cannabis cultivation, food-based manufacturing, and distribution facility with required ADA parking and landscaped areas. The proposed development includes a small building, water storage tank, paved entrance, parking lot, landscaping, underground water well, and sewer connection. Building's design includes a pitched roof with architectural composition roofing, horizontal fiber cement lap sidings and paneling, and a wooden covered entry. Design features include neutral paint colors and natural accent materials, and there are also required lighting and security features. And this project is at 3839 Spring Hill Road in Mount Shasta, APN 057771280. I'm a bit still getting used to the procedures at these meetings. What other, details should I provide up front here?
Thank you, Kyle. That's a good place to start. I'll go ahead and open it up to the Planning Commission, and they can ask questions of staff.
Great.
I'm going to just start at one end. Paul, are you all sorting things with the laptop there? Are you sorted?
No. Start on the other end, please.
All right. Vaughn, did you have questions, comments for staff on the project?
Yes, we're not having the owners here tonight?
That's next.
Okay. Another
again,
meeting, not this
Belinda?
one.
No,
Okay,
No
may come
owners?
later.
all right. Is CEQA required? Are there CEQA requirements for this project?
We'll just
Yeah, so I believe that architectural review is not subject to CEQA. This project is a use by right in the C2 zoning, and so it's just subject to design review. And as design review is based on a local ordinance that does not extend to addressing environmental effects, CEQA isn't necessary for this type of thing.
Okay, is there some extra kind of permit that's going to be required? Is that for another meeting for doing this type of business?
Yeah, there are
State
cannabis
license-
permits
yeah,
and
like state
things of that nature.
State
but
licensing?
yeah, all of that, which they do have, I believe.
They
Okay.
have to have.
I still have questions too about, they said the soil removal was minor, but a half acre to me isn't minor. So what makes it minor?
Was that my wording in the staff report?
It was in a report that I saw.
Did this trigger a grading permit? Maybe would be the question.
Yeah, I would say that if we decide that grading permits are necessary, we can incorporate that as a condition of approval. I'm not sure myself what would qualify as the amount of ground disturbance to make that necessary.
And that's the reason why I was asking about CEQA as well, because if there's going to be that much soil removal, maybe there is a requirement for CEQA, I'm not sure.
It's pretty flat out there.
I've seen there, I drove, I went out there, but half an acre of soil removal is a lot, and that would require at least, at the very least, some sort of a report from Department of Fish and Wildlife or somebody about flora, fauna there, anything that was
If anything, it would be indigenous materials
yeah, well,
in proximity to Spring Hill.
yeah, and also, yeah, indigenous burial spots or any of that kind of thing, or some sort of endangered species of plant or animal. Would think there would, if you're gonna move that much soil, there's gotta be something like that, I know. And I'm not reading anything about that, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I'd say that we can also put into conditions of approval language about if discoveries are made related to cultural artifacts or special status species, then certain protocol for the development can be,
That's not CEQA, though, that's just us throwing something in there, and I'm not sure that's clear enough. You know, that's not official enough. It's like if we're going to cover ourselves and are having done due diligence, then maybe we need to think about whether we should require a CEQA document with this. There's a lot of other things in this too, but I know this is just the architectural review, but it's more than that now. It's become more.
I think you are inviting a lawsuit, given the nature of the parties that generally do that sort of thing.
Yeah, I understand. I think the legal basis for it is that CEQA isn't required. This has been held up in court before for design reviews and whether or not CEQA is required for them. But if it's decided among you that the environmental impacts seem to be significant enough that you'd like for
Yeah,
some of that CEQA work to be done, then
Or more definition on precisely what they're intending to do. That would help this whole question and help it move forward, because I like to see things move forward, but got to do it the right way.
Yeah, I just, think if there's not an environmental impact report, I think
No, EIR is different.
yeah, I know.
way big.
I'm looking at all the above.
They're only developing a quarter acre
Yeah.
Okay,
of a
well,
1 acre lot. So,
I get it, but the report says half acre of dirt's getting moved, and nobody's looked to see if there's any kind of flora, fauna that needs
Do
to
you
be
have the
protected there.
did you circle that?
So in this
Remember the
property,
page?
has it already been one of those graded disturbed properties along the freeway?
Yeah.
Is it fill and stuff like that? Yeah, it's freeway leftovers and stuff, I think. Road.
So can I just interject here? You may or may not want to do this, but if you are, you're doing architectural review tonight, if you want this to move forward, and that's up to you as a body, you could condition your architectural review, based on if the need, basically if CEQA is needed, that the required CEQA documents are met before this is actually official.
I have some other problems, but there's something I probably want to speak to the city attorney about.
So this would be an initial study that would be triggered, our task this evening is design review. It would be helpful to know the surface area, and I don't know what it is in the city to trigger a grading permit. That would be helpful, certainly. And often the things that would typically come up, right, would be historic or prehistoric artifacts. Biologically, it's not that interesting of an area. Just saying, I've been out there. It's manzanita, and it seems unlikely to have. I mean, I didn't study it. I didn't walk the site, but it's not unique. It's not a unique habitat out there.
One thing that is, I guess, a little strange to me is the city doesn't have a grading ordinance. Which was surprising.
Well, I can almost assure you, the Department of Fish and Wildlife has concerns when dirt gets moved. And especially if the draw there or whatever, there could be water during certain times of the year sitting, I don't know.
The main concern with that would be runoff into the headwaters that would affect the hatchery.
Well, there's more concerns than that. It could be amphibians and whatever else goes there in that property, so.
Which would affect the hatchery.
I lost my connection earlier, but my concern is stormwater quality as well. Usually a project like this would at least have some sort of infiltration basin or something like that.
I'm going to try to pull this back together and kind of go back to one at a time. So Ron, so noted your concern about, there has been an initial study. I don't know that this would trigger an initial study because of the scale, because of use, as Kyle mentioned. Within our purview of architectural design, which is what's on the table, and stormwater is part of what we talk about in architectural design review, which you've mentioned is important. It seems unlikely that there's waters of the US up there. Again, I didn't walk the entire property, but I imagine that hopefully city staff has done, and our contract planner has done adequate review to determine likelihood of triggering an initial study, which is the initial part of a CEQA review. Is that helpful for you, Vaughn?
That's better.
I hear what you're saying.
Not to check. No, I keep going. I mean, please continue to express your concerns, your questions.
I've said what my concerns were.
Okay, and we'll go back, we'll have, we're gonna listen to the project proponent, we're going to have another round where we can ask questions and have discussions, so this is just the first round. Okay, after Vaughn, let's go ahead to Belinda.
There's nothing in there about, they have one of the checklists was pedestrian and cyclist infrastructure. I saw nothing there for cyclists, whether they put the bikes inside or out, there's a rack outside. It does nothing for cyclists, as far as I could see. And I was looking at the snow removal, and the snow removal, I don't know how they're going to remove the snow from the back where the loading dock is. There's no shed roof over that or anything. It's going to snow on it, and they're not going to have anywhere to put the snow because it doesn't work. I know these things. And the other piece with that is that the building is a totally flat square rectangle with one little fake thing out front in the entranceway. And when we did Golden Eagle, we made them do depth on their long building sides and stuff to make it look more attractive and not have just a big wall. And that's kind of part of what an architectural review is. And the mention about not doing steel buildings, that isn't true, because Golden Eagle was a steel, and they worked with us, and we made it, we haven't done the building, but we approved a lot of what worked with that steel building. So I don't want everybody to think you can't do a steel building. It just has to look really good, right? So let's not be, I don't know how that ever happened that we don't do steel buildings in the town, because that was obviously a steel building. But this is just a total flat square building. There is, and we could go on all the things, the landscaping, and all the things that aren't done in this architectural review that need to be done, because I don't know these people. I'm not going to just say, yeah, it's cool. Without some drawings. And how far are they from the freeway? I have, nothing here shows me how far the building is to the freeway.
Well, you can see the building from the freeway.
No, but that doesn't tell me. I want to know how
Yeah.
many feet. What's this? That's the way you draw these things,
Right
don't
next
you?
to it, right next to it.
Right next to it. What does that mean? Is it like 2
Well, it's
feet from
across
the
the
fence?
street. No, across the street from the freeway.
Anyway, that's my concern. And there's so many other things. I'll let everybody else have a chunk of this.
Well, okay, thank you, Belinda. Hopefully that everybody else doesn't miss any one of your concerns. Okay, Tucson, please.
Kyle, do you know if there was a pre-application meeting for this project already?
I'm not sure. If they did, then it would have been with Teresa, because the initial application was submitted back in March. So I didn't see any record in Teresa's correspondence with them about if it had happened or not.
Because it's usually they have a pre-application meeting first before they come to the architectural review with the planning commission. So I kind of wanted to know if that step had been made yet. So maybe the project proponents can speak to that. But I'd like to see something, there's usually some documentation in writing that a meeting happened, and, at least some meeting notes or something. Do you know when their cannabis license was obtained? The city license?
Yeah, I believe it was back in February they got, or permitting at least. I'm not positive when the licensing was, but the permits, if I recall, were obtained from the city back in February.
Do you know if, because this is a new name for me, a new company name, do you know if another cannabis license previously dropped off and didn't renew their license, and it opened up a space for this company?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it came about. There's a slot open for them, but from what I've seen, the history of this, it was worked out back when the license were obtained, or the permits. And Teresa had accepted them and they were entered into the record. So I don't know the details, but I assume everything was above board there.
Okay. Do we know, kind of along the same lines, but do we know how many licenses have been issued in the city? As like an update for us, because it's been a while.
So for permits, I know that I believe cultivation and distribution are at the max right now, which I believe is 6.
Should be 5.
Or 5 or 6, yeah.
5.
Whichever one is the maximum. And then retail, which this doesn't include, is also, I believe, at
3.
the maximum.
Yeah.
And then the other permits have a few openings, if I recall.
Okay, yep. So if this project goes ahead, or, you know, the projects that are currently going, without a, you know, a planner in place, who is kind of monitoring the state cannabis regulations that they're supposed to, you know, adhere to?
Yeah, I don't know what the city's plan for monitoring is.
One more time, I'm sorry.
I don't think I can speak to that, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, let's,
Todd, can you speak to that?
Sure, that's a great question. It will be our permanent planner, and you know, again, thanks for bearing with us as we've had to work through this long, never-ending personnel issue, which has now been put to bed, and you know, we will be going out seeking a planner tomorrow in the papers. So the process is starting. We hopefully will be getting somebody on board soon. But in the meantime, we don't have the expert that we have had in the past with the city. And that person will be the planner that we hire. But so right now there's sort of a void until we get that person on.
all right, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's all the questions I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Tucson. David, how about you?
Is the whole property gonna be fenced? Because I see gates on the driveway and sidewalk, but no fence connecting them.
I don't believe the entire site will be. If I recall from the plans, I think that it's just kind of a buffer around the building itself.
So then what's the point of the gates?
Can't drive in. They can't drive in. Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have.
Bushes look like, yeah.
Okay, thank you, David. Paul? Are
Okay,
you-
I have a bunch of things, but most of them, except for basically 1 or 2, need to wait to the next round, I think, of questions. So in here on page 1, I guess it is, of the agenda item staff report, it says 3,200 square foot cannabis cultivation, food-based manufacturing and distribution facility. If I'm remembering this right, because it was Josh, myself, and Juliana that put this together, for food-based manufacturing requires a separate license. Cultivation is one license, food-based manufacturing is yet another license. So if I'm correct, and I think I am, we have to look into that and have them get an additional license, because they're endeavoring to do multiple, I'm grasping for the word.
Businesses.
Well, more so than businesses, but anyway, they're trying to do 2 things. So they need licensing for cultivation and for food-based manufacturing. I'm pretty sure.
Doesn't it say in here something about the micro whatever, which allows them to do everything in-house?
Well, no,
Vertically integrated
I'm,
Yeah.
licenses.
say again,
They
please.
can have multiple licenses. It's a good question. We need to make sure that they have
Correct.
Those
And that's
licenses
both
for those
licenses in
doing-
In
place.
place, yeah.
Because we have X amount of licenses in each category, 3 in retail, 5 in cultivation, and then 5 in all
Yeah.
the rest. So that's all. We just have to make sure that there's a license open for that. And they were kind of unclear. Well, I'll wait for the next round of questioning for everything else. That was just my main question. I don't want to hold up the flow of the meeting. I'm
Okay,
done. Thank you.
Sure. Alan?
Okay. I think there should be a landscape buffer on the property between it and the freeway property, between it and the right of way. Instead of just having it paved right at the property line. And again, the stormwater quality, I suspect they have to do some sort of detention basin, regardless of water quality, just because they've added so much impervious surface. I'd like to know more about lighting. And I think the submittal didn't include enough information about fencing, which had been asked, but I didn't see a final response to that. Those are the categories, but it sounds like we'll have more opportunities and I'll listen to the applicant.
Okay, anything else, Alan?
I'm not pushing for a sequel, an EIR or anything else like that. This is a fairly benign use in a part of the landscape that's fairly common. So I'm not horribly concerned about that from that perspective. Lighting was the last issue. Did I say something about lighting? Lighting. Okay, that's it for now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say some of the gaps that I noticed in the application was they don't describe the lighting of the pathway. They did do a good job of supplying the lighting for the on the side of the building, which looks like downward facing, which is what we want. I am a little concerned about lighting in the back because of the topography. If the vegetation were removed on the west side of the building and a downward facing light, because the topography could actually allow light to bleed out onto I-5. So I'm particularly concerned about ensuring that that lighting really stays within the property boundary. I like that. I agree with Alan, and I think others have mentioned that the screening, if, my understanding is that that fence that you can see in the back of the lot is the property line, and that's where the Caltrans property begins. The way the site plan it shows, there's not enough room then for vegetative landscaping to screen the site. If in the likely event that Caltrans does some fuel reduction along the interstate there would no longer be a vegetative screening. And if the fence that they show only goes kind of the width of the building, I couldn't tell if that privacy that was created by that fence would completely block, in case that a space within the property around the building, and then whether or not you could see coming up or down, well, I guess it would be either side of I-5 if you could then see in from the side. So that side, the screening does not seem adequate. I agree. Kyle, are you tracking this? Have you kind of jotted down some of the potential conditions of approval that we might be talking about? Have you been taking notes on that?
Yeah, I've been taking notes.
Okay, so that when we come up, if we get to that point this evening where we might be able to condition this, I'm just hoping, I'm trying to take notes also, but I might not be doing a very good job. Let's see, the other piece was, yeah, I would like to know what the walkway lights are going to look like and whether those are downward facing. I would want to know, I agree, as far as the building, the size of the building, when across the street, when that was going to be the tire shop over there, we went to quite some length to ensure that the north-facing side of the building was not just a wall, and they actually put in those those windows with those kind of blocks, I don't know what you call them off the top of my head. Anyway, so they put in those blocky windows to break up that long side of the building. The building that we've been presented with has a similar issue, that we have this long, unarticulated space. And even our design guidelines read specifically that a wall that's greater than 25 feet in length requires 3 feet of horizontal articulation. So that is actually, in our design guidelines, and it doesn't look like that, especially that the long back is following that. And if that's not screened, how do we manage that? Does the snow storage, is the topography such that the snow storage, when it melts, will that drain away from the parking area? We can't tell that. So again, about stormwater, there's definitely some concerns about stormwater and snow storage that I'd like to see addressed. And I think that's it for me. So now that all the commissioners have had a moment, is the project proponent, I couldn't tell if they are there at City Park. Are they joining us this evening?
Here.
No.
Kyle, are they joining us online? Does anybody know?
I don't see them.
That's going to make this rather difficult to sort this out, because another challenge we had, and it's challenging, and city staff, I get it, in terms of communication of information that was coming. I noticed that we were sent a letter this evening that was far too late for me to have time to read. So note to anybody who wants to get their input to us, it works a lot better if we have it on time, because I can't speed read and get ready for a meeting. The information that there was some response about some of the questions about the landscape plan, and we need to have that submitted to us in a public way so that the public has access to that information. And I haven't received it through the city staff, which is the standard procedure of how we're supposed to get it. So I find it very difficult to act on information that we haven't received in an official capacity, and so that the public has access to that information. So it looks to me like we may be a little stuck. I definitely want to open it up to public comment this evening, but this is a little challenging. So I heard there's nobody there for the public at the city park?
I think we just got told he's showing up.
Yeah, the project applicant is here. He's just online and on the public side.
Oh, good. Well, that is super helpful. And then, great, let's start there. Can you, if
Hello.
Well,
Hi there. I'm Scott. Can you guys see me?
Yes,
Can't see you though.
Right. You can't see me or can?
I can hear you,
Public side.
not see you.
Wait.
Oh, in a minute.
There he is. Okay.
All right. All right. Nice to hear all of you guys. I'm glad that we're having this meeting. Can everybody hear me?
I know.
Yes.
yes.
All right. First, I'll introduce myself. My name's Scott Lassen. I'm the applicant to business. We got started in this way back with Juliana, I think 2 years at a property off Reginato Road. And we had a issue with our landlord there. So we moved to Spring Hill and began to pursue developing on Spring Hill here. So there was confusion with the application, the pre-application meeting that was required for this development. It kind of got skipped over because it was right when Juliana was on the way out. It was like a couple weeks before she left. So everything kind of got confusing on our end on what else we needed to do and provide. And I've been emailing and calling and trying to have a contact, and me and Kyle finally connected recently to try to straighten out whatever else is needed. But we are more than willing to adjust our plan and add whatever's needed. Like I said, we didn't have the pre-application meeting for the development of the land. We were going to refurbish a already existing building on Reginato. So we got approval there, and then she gave us approval to develop upon having another contact. And we waited 6 months to meet that contact and got told we needed several more things, and we provided those and then submitted those. And we've been waiting and been told that she's no longer there, and we need some more material submitted, which is okay. But we just need to figure out what we need to submit, and we will gladly adjust our plans.
Have you been listening to this meeting so far? Okay, so
I just got back from the lake with my kids, and I just turned it on about 10 after 6. So I heard most of it, I believe.
and taking some notes, perhaps, of what we want, or we're going to leave that with Kyle?
It's bedtime, and we're trying to cook dinner and get kids in bed. I have 2 young kids, so I don't have notes. I'm attentively listening.
Okay.
Okay, well, I could get started on some of that. I don't know if you heard. We were interested in landscaping. We were interested in stormwater. We were interested in lighting. We were interested in how much grading is going to occur. So bicycle parking, screening, considering that proximity to I-5, and that you cannot be assured that vegetation within the Caltrans right-of-way is going to be retained. How would you screen in light of that? Take it away.
Yeah, so I thank you all of these to light. I completely overlooked the snow issue with our rear loading dock. That is probably going to have to be covered after thinking about it. And with as close as we have the building pushed back to the property line, you are correct. I don't think there is enough room for vegetation. And if Caltrans clears the manzanita that I'm referring to, and I'm banking on for our embankment wall, then there will be no screening. So I think we may have to pull the building a little closer to Spring Hill Road and make our driveway a little shorter and implement any landscaping, fencing, and screening that we need to make this work. But we I don't want to say we threw this together, because we spent over $10,000 on all these plans and coordinating all this with engineers. So it's, we are more than willing to address these issues. But like I said, this is the first time I've talked to someone who's giving me any direction on them from the city. So as far as grading, we're gonna minimally grade to install the pad and the parking lot and driveway. After listening to the architect, I believe we will be installing a stormwater retention runoff. There was concern about fish and game, wildlife, and licensing issues with water. There are 3 other steps for us once you guys approve us to get approval from the state and Fish and Game, Cal Cannabis, Cal Department of Agriculture regarding water rights, disturbing streamways, runoff, trace, all of these issues. So your recommendation for a CEQA, I would like to contact the city planner who created this industry, because she has a lot of information on what's required for CEQA, but I don't believe we need it for our project. The state will let us know as we continue to apply if we do. As far as lighting goes, for the walkway lighting, I plan on, originally I think we put it, they're gonna be on brown post LED lighting, but I think we're gonna have them right at foot height, and we'll have a landscaped pathway with solar lighting along that pathway. The reason for the swing gate on the road was exactly for that reason, so someone can't pull a big truck into our driveway and our parking lot and knock a wall down and take everything. So the gate would prevent that. And eventually we may fence the whole lot. So that's just, Unbound Solar has just a gate on their entrance and no fencing around it. So we kind of just base it off the neighboring property when it comes to our gate. What was the other questions you had?
Bike parking?
What was that?
Bike parking?
Yeah, I don't think it made it on the actual site plan, but there will be a bike rack right at the end of the pedestrian pathway from Spring Hill right to in front of the building. I had that written in the plans. I don't know why it didn't get on the site plan. We can add that. That's not a big deal.
And ADA accessibility needs to be clear.
Yeah, on the site plan, not clear enough on my site plan for the ADA accessibility.
There's a little wheelchair, it's a little vague. I'm sure that is, nobody gets away with anything like that anywhere. Nobody will say it's okay unless that's done. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that.
I'm a little confused. We have a designated ADA required parking space just for that, and the doors are swinging the direction for a wheelchair as required.
Okay.
A accessible bathroom with the required thing on the doors for a wheelchair to come in. It is all designed ADA accessible.
Good.
I had a question about garbage. So garbage and outbuildings need to be screened and enclosed, and there's no, on the site plan, it doesn't show where your garbage would be stored and therefore covered. And likewise, it doesn't show how the well and the pump house are going to, what the design is for those.
Right. So we're awaiting approval for building this building to get our well installed and get we bought property from the person who's installing the well, and Low Well Drilling and Pumps. So he hasn't spotted the well yet. We don't know where the best location for our well is. So that's that will become permanent as he spots the well. So it's kind of a tricky situation to put that on our site plan pre-approval, because it's going to have to be redone once it's permanent after we get approval and we start building.
And garbage and the pump house, and how would they be incorporated into the design?
The pump house, and it will match the same architectural style as the building. Composite shingle roofing, lap siding, the same paint scheme. And the garbage we intend on pulling behind our private screening fence and in through that back door. So it'll be inside, completely out of view. And we'll have a dumpster for Cal Cannabis Waste approval. Has to be a permitted cannabis waste hauler, which will come and pick up our cannabis waste at screening fence. And we'll pull it out on the day that they come pick it up.
Commissioners, how are we doing on getting people's concerns, questions, et cetera, answered? I think that, and maybe I know one is regarding landscaping. What landscaping, and then how to take those relatively blank walls and break them up architecturally to comply with our design guidelines. So two things: landscaping, more details on landscaping, maintaining the landscaping, and then doing something. All the way around, the walls all the way around.
Got all the way around. We need to break up the features. Okay, so let me clarify on that first before I jump into landscaping. When you're saying 3 feet horizontal to break up features, I'm just misunderstanding that. And obviously our architect misunderstood that because we sent him your guidelines to design our building for this. Do you mean it needs to come out and have like levels of close to the road and drops back 3 feet and going towards the road and back, and not up and down the wall?
Alan, do you want to you're good at describing these, do you mind?
I'm just wondering how decide to not change our structural engineering plans and add design features like paints or shade or planters or something to accommodate that, if that's realistic.
We're just looking for not a long blank wall. If you can have either vertical or horizontal elements that do step forward or step back, that maybe they look like columns on the ends or something like that, that sort of thing. If you have an architect working with you, providing, taking a blank wall and having it be more articulated either vertically or horizontally, I think he'll know what to do with that.
Okay. That makes sense to me as you said it like that with column. Okay. I will, that's nothing that we cannot adjust. Like I said, we did not have the development pre-application meeting to nail all of these details down. So we can adjust the building to make it look pretty. That's not, we've paid for it already, so he can adjust them and add these features. As far as landscape.
Hold on, I'll just say, just across the street before, sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to let you know, across the street, when we did the design review, when that was a tire shop, they put in the windows on the north-facing wall to help break it up. So that's an example of something we worked out to manage that. Just, you know, the close, easy example, I hope.
Okay, perfect. Is there any way I could get an example sent to me on what you would like? Or, because I don't want to go through all of this trouble of adjusting our plans and having it not meet the requirements. Is there any type of template that's going to show me and I can give the architects to make sure we do that right? Because it takes a while for us to get our plans adjusted and back from the architects. It's not a 2-day turnaround kind of thing.
Tucson, why don't you take a swing at articulation on a building wall that's blank?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear whoever just spoke there.
That was, Tucson is another design professional that we're lucky to have on the planning commission. And so maybe Tucson, you could help him with some ideas that they could chew on. Because typically we don't want to prescribe what we do. We want to let you and your design team work what you want kind of within our parameters. So, but Tucson has some good ideas since that's his.
Pictures? Oh, we have pictures?
Great, I appreciate it.
If you don't mind, Tucson.
Sure. You know, anything that can break up the long horizontal looking walls, I believe is the 25 feet that Melanie was talking about. You know, a vertical element in there, a change in siding, some stonework, you know, something that, you know, basically breaks up the long blank wall.
Okay.
Whether it's windows or it's, you know, a depth, you know, adjustment in the wall either comes out or pushes back. I personally think a wider front entry would help in this case. It's kind of small for that long wall.
Yeah, it does look kind of small.
Landscaping in front, like between the sidewalk and the parking spaces, there could be a 3-foot planter in there that gets planted with some specific types of shrubs or grasses, and that helps to block that long blank wall and create some interest.
Okay, so it sounds like I'm just wondering because, like I said, it takes a little bit extra money and a little more time to change our structural engineered set of plans. So it sounds like we will break up the accent features just with cosmetics on the outside, and we won't have to redesign the shape of the building.
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay, I like the idea of a larger entryway. And I do, I put somewhere in there that there's going to be planters around the entryway. But like I said, I wasn't exactly sure on how much was required to get this approval. So we are, we have investors and we are funded, but we are on a budget. So we're trying to obviously put as little amount as we can into a great facility to get revenue producing. So we will obviously need to add some design features, but I will get with my team and get those added. With all these changes that we're talking about, do I need to implement all of these on the site plans and our architectural plans and get them back to you before we can proceed? Or is this something we can get a conditional approval right now so our well guy can get us on the schedule and possibly install our well as we address all these issues and correct them?
As far as I know, you could probably get the well done before an architectural review is approved, from what I understand. I think there is enough in this plan stage and enough changes that would warrant it coming back to us one more time. Because there are so many elements here that seem to be not quite in place. It's not really, typically, it's not our typical set of plans that come to us for an architectural review. They're pretty sparse, I would say.
Okay, understood. So we will adjust the accents on all of the walls to break up the features. We'll have the architect add those features. To address the landscaping, I recently have contracted with a licensed landscape contractor, Richard Meyer, with Meyer Irrigation Specialists. And I'm going to be taking over his company to do irrigation and landscaping. So he is a certified irrigation and landscape designer. So I didn't even know this gentleman before we had these plans. So I will get with him and we will provide a very nice landscape set of plans with irrigation and exactly the amount of water we'll use, plants, and everything that's required for that. It'll be much more up to par.
Yeah, that's great.
Go ahead, Alan.
If I might add, the trees that you've got, I know it's just a graphic, but the trees that you show across the face of the building are at about 12 foot on center. And you don't want them that close together. So reduce the number of trees, make them larger. And it's not just going to be plants and irrigation. The real problem out there is that the soil is just horrible. So a lot of the expense of getting a landscape to be successful will be in appropriate soil preparation.
Soil, yeah, great. I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay.
And the potted plants that you show towards the front on the on this front face of your building there, are those going to be irrigated, and are they just little decorative pots, or what do you?
All of this I will address in our landscape design that we have. Those I put planters on our design, and those were just thrown in there by our architect, as well as those trees. None of those were my input. Tried to make it look.
We talked about needing landscaping on the backside of the structure. So we can't do tree planting back there, and also have it be the sole place where you're going to store snow, because they're not compatible together.
I got it. What would you recommend on a property like this, Alan, as far as landscaping and vegetating it, being the expert?
What do you mean? What would I recommend? Like a plant list or something like that?
In the email you said and vegetating the whole lot due to the soil. Does that mean?
No, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is where you're going to plant, where you're going to be putting trees in the ground and other shrubs and things like that. The soil that's there now is poor. And so you need to augment it or amend it to make it be a good enough quality soil to make those plants grow.
Yeah. I'm comfortable and confident in my mentor, Richard Meyer, to make sure the landscape looks beautiful. He's very accomplished and has 40 years of experience in landscape.
I met him some years back, and he's worked in the area for a while. He may have worked up that way, but as far as this part of the city, that's some of the soil there is some of the worst you'll find. As far as its ability to grow plants. But the bigger issue is sliding your whole building and everything away from that right of way line and giving yourself like an 8 or 10 foot planter back there so you can provide some buffer planting, some screen planting.
Yeah, that's probably our best bet. Is that what you recommend also, is pulling the building away from that street and creating a little more room?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then think about your snow storage as a separate entity.
Okay, and as far as snow storage, what would you recommend for this? So we'll pull our building forward closer to Spring Hill, create an area for shrubs and vegetation for screening. Is that plant shrubs and in that area have gravel and drainage and have that compatible for snow storage?
I don't know. Your engineer will have to size your water infiltration facility or your detention pond or retention or whatever type that he uses. But typically, snow storage is also a separate and a separate element from that as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Lots of things to fit in.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to interject here. Todd made I think a very helpful comment, and that we're talking about many different details to be tracking. I'm trusting that this meeting has been recorded. Is that a yes? So that our project proponent will have access to all that we've discussed to keep track of, or maybe Kyle, you've been taking very detailed notes, because this is hard to try to put this together on the fly like this. And I am just, we're doing the best we can. It's just a tough situation for everybody. And we want you to have a successful business. We want you to put a building out there that looks fabulous for our city. And this is hard to do it this way. Go ahead.
It's difficult to nail down these plans with the city. I'm glad we're having this meeting. I look forward to correcting these and the next meeting and getting approval on these. I've been frustrated with not being able to get this feedback that I'm getting right now. I appreciate it. And I hope Kyle is taking notes, and maybe Kyle and I can stay in touch and make sure that all of the things do get addressed and I get them in our plans properly.
So Scott, if I can interject, this is the city manager. It is, there's a lot to take in here and we're all taking notes, but given that there is a lot being said, it would really help you if you were taking notes. I mean, there's a lot here. I can share my notes, but I don't know if I'm catching everything, but since it's your application, you should be taking notes on this.
I hear you.
Are we recorded so that he can review it later? Oh, good.
Yes.
Hope it's
Sorry,
recorded with them here.
They're all over there recording it right now, the whole group.
Perfect. Works out perfect.
Right. And I'm happy to share the notes I've taken with Kyle, if that will be helpful
Yes, me as well. Yeah.
I'm happy to help, because like I say, I understand this has not been easy. Is there anything else, commissioners or applicant, we need to talk to? I don't know if anybody else from the public. I know we've received some public input, maybe in light of the fact that it looks like we're going to revisit this. If somebody wanted to talk to us, maybe it's not the best time now, or I mean, not that I'm dissuading anyone, but just a heads up, it looks like you're going to review this again. So anything else, project proponent or commissioners for now? Otherwise, Alan, go ahead.
We haven't talked about odors, and I don't know if there's an odor control aspect to this installation. I'm not sure.
That's a cannabis ordinance. That's under the cannabis ordinance, really design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's required. Have state-of-the-art charcoal filters, and there will not be any problem with odors.
Okay, anything else, commissioners? Or I'm going to see if anybody else from the public
So
would like to speak.
we're going to come back to an opportunity to comment after the public comment. Is that correct?
We'll do another round, yeah, after I close.
Okay, I'll wait till then so we can keep going.
Okay, well, I'll because I'm not understanding on the amount of permits. If we've already maxed the permits, what are we doing here tonight?
So we've got approval for the last permit, and it's in conditional approval to get this building built. We'll get the last license, and we have to get.
That's fine.
to apply for our state license, which is actually easy compared to this process. But we have approval. We have conditional approval for the last license from 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago when Juliana issued it. So there's no dilemma when it comes to licensing. There's one other company that's expanding and has a license, and we have one of the licenses, and both those cultivation licenses are not being used currently. So currently there's 3 operating cultivators in the city. There's no issue with being maxed out. Nobody else can apply pending this project.
How long are those licenses good for?
Well, this is not our purview right now.
Okay.
We're not doing the cannabis ordinance, we're doing design.
I get that, but I'm just trying to figure out if I'm wasting time talking about design for a building that can't be built anyway. That's all I'm asking for.
We've already got approval for cannabis business with a conditional approval for a year to get this building built. So the building is being held up. The cannabis business has been approved already. We've met requirement after requirement and we've been approved for the cannabis. We've paid all of our fees. We're ready to build. We just need to get this nailed down.
Right. It's up to city staff to manage the cannabis ordinance, not the planning commission at this stage. We already handled the cannabis ordinances ad infinitum. But anything else regarding design review, commissioners? Is that Tucson?
Yeah. The colors that were being proposed here, it wasn't clear to me what the colors were. I saw some names of colors, but not really any, clear.
Our printer did not, even on the plans, did not print and depict the actual color that we're using. But I thought I submitted actual paint splotches from the hardware store. And we're going with just the primary color will be a light neutral gray and then a dark brown to accent.
Okay. And if it's, see, we haven't seen any like swatches or paint samples or anything.
Weird.
I'd like to be able to see them.
Something here, but it's black and white.
So many documents to Teresa and to, I think it was Dana Ayers at TRC the first time, who was the interim planner right after Juliana. So I've had now 4 contacts on who I've submitted material to. If there's any question on material, if you want to see something, I probably have it. It just might not be in front of you.
Okay. Yeah, if you could,
20 and
if you could bring that to us on the next round, that would be great.
Okay,
Yeah,
I will.
they're not really, they're not really clear. Do you know what the setbacks are on this lot? Usually they are put on the plot plan, inside the boundary. What are the setbacks around this property, the front, the sides, and the rear?
That's what the issue we're running into and talking about with pulling the building forward is the building and fence were all the way against the property line in the back, so there was no setback. And I think on the site plan, it might be in really small lettering on the measuring, but I'm pretty sure it's diagrammed out on there. If it's not, I will add that in there on the setbacks for where the building and driveway will be. I thought it was on there though.
No, I don't see it.
Okay, we will add setbacks. We need to change that anyway because we're pulling the building forward. So we will add setbacks.
Anything else?
Property line of the building.
Yeah, I know that shows the dimension.
You guys done?
Also, we haven't really talked about a lighting plan. Usually we'll have a lighting plan, where they are on the building, where they are around, the parking areas, how high, if you're going to have any high, down lighting.
Okay.
And the brightness of the lighting and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we did. We know the lights that we're going to use, and we're basing our installation off of the project further up Spring Hill, the Cypress Group they've provided us with some material to help us use the same things they're using that got approved through the planning department. So we'll be using the same lighting as they are and the same installation process of, I think it was every 20 feet or 16 feet, but that's all in the schematics in there in the lighting information on how far apart they're supposed to be spread, all the installation process. From the sounds of it, we may need to have those added onto the plan so you can see where the lights are. Is that what you're wanting?
That's typically what we require, yes.
Okay, on the physical building, wrapping all the way around where those packs will be.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll add those
And
on
the
there
parking lot and anywhere else you put lights, you're supposed to
Like
have a
the,
schematic
the
of it.
the pathway lights and that.
Your architect should have done that, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, guy. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I'm a young man trying to take on a big project. I have very accomplished and experienced people helping me out to do this, but no one's doing it for me. I'm trying to figure it out. I appreciate your guys' help.
Sure. Lastly, for me, on the next round, if you could show the screening around the water tank and the pump house, that would be helpful too.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. What screening needs to be around the pump house? So we can't just have a pump house over in the corner of the lot.
I guess it depends on how it looks. You know, if it looks like a nice, neat little building, then that's one thing. But say the water tank, if you have any propane tanks, or you said that you're going to put the garbage around the back, that's screened. But if there's anything out in the open, like the water tank or propane or whatever you use there, how that's going to be screened. It's usually like a fence around it.
Okay. So let me ask you that, a 15,000 gallon water tank that's required from the fire department, how do we screen that?
Usually they'll have like a fence around it with a gate on the front.
Okay. So we can fence around that. Okay. The pump house building will be architectural and it will be appealing. It will match the style of the building. And we will get the building up to par to make it look appealing, so you guys will approve it. So that the pump house will look nice, and we will figure out something to screen that big of a water tank.
Sounds good.
Okay. So for our loading area in the back, I do have a question. Can we just put, 1 second, my kids are saying good night. Good night, guys. I love you. I love you. I'll be in a minute. All right. Love you. Good night. I'm sorry. It's bedtime in the house. For the screening out back, for the snow issue, because we are going to have the fence, it's obviously okay to fully enclose our loading area back there and put not necessarily a roof, but like a lean-to or some type of covering over that fence back there?
Yeah, it would just have to be, within the setback.
Yeah, got it. Just on our property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's probably going to be our best bet as far as the lighting issue on the west wall for the freeway, is just to enclose that loading area, and then we'll have to talk with the architect and figure out the lighting for over there to make sure it just goes straight down and it's not too bright and there's no glare. But I think that's the best bet, is to just cover our loading area on the west wall, and that will keep the snow out of there, and it will completely screen it from public view.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll plan on adding that in there. When it's probably going to take a week or two at least to get all of these changes made. When can we meet again? Do I have like a timeline here, or is it just when I get this done, or do you want to set a date now? How do we do that?
We're going to have to have you schedule that with city staff, because there'll be noticing requirements. Okay. So we can't answer that. Maybe Kyle or Todd would be better equipped to answer that question. But you'll have to work with them.
Okay, got it. we just need to fix our plans and get back in the city. We'll get on the schedule.
Well, a couple things. We need to get you in. I don't know all the details, but if you've got a building permit application, I don't know who you've talked to at the city, but we need you to come in and sit down with our building inspector and our public works director, probably myself, the police chief, and the fire chief, to talk about everything from security to what you need to pass muster. And we need Kyle there too to walk you through the notes that have come out of this evening to make sure that what's on the site plan are consistent with what we've heard tonight, but also to make sure that what you are planning to do is you're going to be able to sail through. You get all the approvals that you need. That's really what needs to happen next. And it all depends on how complete that application is before we can then get you back on the planning commission agenda.
Got it. Our building permit application is what you're referring to, how complete that is?
Yeah, but it's also part of, your site plan, and basically getting police and fire to get an understanding of what you're planning for security and fire protection for that building. It's all stuff that we need to see. And then, of course, everything that we've discussed here tonight, making sure that it's taken care of on those plans, and then we can reschedule you. Because I don't want to put this body through another.
Yeah. Totally. That makes perfect sense to me. May I suggest or ask that we have this meeting that you're referring to before we adjust all of our plans so we can get everything correct with the building department, planning department, and all of the heads of department?
Yeah, we can. We need something to react to, though. So if you have any plans that you have currently, we need to see those and bring those in, and then we'll work from there.
So just to apply for this architectural design review, we had to submit a building permit application after we got approved for our cannabis business. So we do have a building permit application, a building contractor, and a construction, and it's all submitted to you guys. So do you have that with you, or do you want us to bring a new one?
If you've submitted it, that's great. I don't know who you've talked to about this. It sounds like things dropped off with Juliana's departure. I don't know if you ever sat down with all the department heads that need to review this, but that's what you need to do.
For sure. I did get, it was kind of during COVID and after Juliana left, the fire department, the fire chief and the police chief and public works all have gave approval for this project and recommended we change doors swinging. The fire department required the 15,000 gallon water tank. So we've gone through that part of it. We just have not got the building part done at all yet.
Okay, bring in the plans that you have, and we'll set up we'll just contact me. We'll set up a time with the building inspector and public works, and we'll make sure that Kyle can remote in, and we'll work from there.
Perfect. Who am I speaking with? I'm just looking at myself on my phone right now. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. It's Todd Uhas. I'm the city manager. Okay. When you get onto the website, you'll see contact information. And
yes, I emailed you a couple of weeks ago trying to get this ball rolling, Todd.
Yeah. Well, all I've seen from you is just the comments in relation to questions that the Planning Commission has had pre-meeting. So send me something and we'll get something on the books.
All right, okay, I'm going to move this back to Planning Commission business, but it's a hard one, so I'm very sympathetic to helping everybody get this sorted. Commissioners, before I invite another member of the public to speak, does anybody have any more comments or questions?
No.
I'm not seeing anything. Everybody's pretty darn tiny on my screen. Okay, I'm going to open it up then to the public. I believe, did I see that Betty is interested in speaking to us? I saw her pop up. I don't know who's managing that piece. Okay, so I see Betty Krieger up. Betty, I've got a 3-minute timer. When you are ready, go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's see if it works. And I'll let you know when your 3 minutes are winding down.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, most everything I had made notes of was pretty much answered. I want to just thank the entire Planning Commission for its detail of, asking questions, etc. And, Scott answers and willingness to do what's necessary. I'd also like to explain a little bit, I thought I did in my email, about why I sent my letter to the Planning Commission, but I explained it fully to Kathy. And it's been a little confusing because initially we were able to do that several years ago, and then Juliana came on and we had a Dropbox, and then Teresa came on and we kind of got the impression that it was okay. I mean, she didn't say that, but so it was a little confusing, and Todd was out on Friday and I wasn't sure how soon he was going to be back. So with that, given what Melanie said at the beginning of the meeting, I did send an email to Kathy so that my comments will be official, and you guys will be receiving them officially from Kathy so that they can be commented on, because I have 13 pages of comments regarding this project. And some of those things were actually answered because obviously other people on the commission either had those questions or they read my letter. One thing I would just like to point out, and it's sort of been alluded to, is that the staff report, there was a lot of vagary in the staff report, vagueness, and things need to be more specific in the future so that we understand how conclusions.
Betty, you have 1 minute.
I got it. Conclusions were arrived at. And I think that after this meeting tonight, people get that. And finally, the plans that were submitted to us and to the Planning Commission were just cell phone pictures and sideways, and it's kind of hard to read things sideways, and it's kind of hard to read cell phone pictures. And so if we could have actual plans at the City Hall to look at, or things that are actual plans submitted in the staff report, that would be great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Betty. Has anybody else expressed an interest in speaking on our agenda item? And is that Jeremy? Are you managing that? Who's managing that? I'm not seeing anything.
No.
They said there's
No
nothing
further
else.
comments.
Okay, all right, then let's go. Commissioners, it sounds like we're going to go do this again. I might request that if you've taken notes, it might be kind of a pile up, but if anybody who's taken notes to.
Did you officially close the public hearing?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm going to close the public hearing on this agenda item, and now we're going to commissioner comments and back to, if anybody took notes, please hand them off to staff so that we can help clear this challenging communication application process. Okay, now I'll go through the list. Paul, do you have any comments, questions?
Yes, I do. First of all, I want to congratulate the proponent for choosing this location, because this is ideally where all of this should really occur. Anyway, so a lot of the questions I have been made clear to me through the other questions by the commissioners tonight, but so just a couple things in the notes in the first page of the agenda item. Again, they were going to have a cultivation, which I understood to be 1,800 square foot of the 3,200 feet, and then food-based manufacturing and distribution. A couple of concerns I had was, so you're going to be wholesaling flour as well as food products, is my question. And if so, were you going to do on-site extraction? In other words, extract oil or trichomes from the flour, and what method of extraction was going to be used?
Well, I think that.
Is that for the
Paul,
next meeting?
That's really not design.
Okay,
That's just not, I mean, that's up to city staff to make sure that the cannabis ordinances are complied with. And I know it's a tough deal right now, as you know, with the staffing thing, but it looks like Kyle's really gotten on board with this, and with his and Todd's attention, I believe that's
that
covered.
would be helpful, though, to have that in this report. Anyway, that's it.
All right, thank you, Paul. David?
No, I don't have, I think it will be addressed in the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, David. Tucson?
On the same lines as what Paul was alluding to, I'm still a little bit concerned that since we don't have a city planner and this project moves forward, there's really no oversight with all the different cannabis regulations, you know, state and, you know, city regulations around cannabis. And, you know, if he's not, you know, up to par on all the different rules, who's going to tell him, you know, and who's going to oversee that aspect of the cannabis regulations, just to make sure everything is done to code.
Todd, can you address that? Come on.
Yeah, Todd or Kyle, please.
Yeah, I can. You know, ultimately, we need somebody, you know, as an expert like Juliana on staff. But what she did do well is trained our front counter staff that takes these kind of applications and knows what they need and what the applicant is required to do to submit to actually get to a permit. So they bird dog that stuff and it's handed off. But the thing that we're missing is somebody that's on when we get unusual cases and asking, you know, for lack of a better term, the expert, which Juliana was. But yes, we have people at the front counter that know what they need to get to a complete application, get approvals, and they watch that.
Yeah, I guess I meant more in the, you know, the building process and all the equipment that's needed and the security cameras and all that kind of code and regulation stuff.
And so that is all
Building department.
The building department, and they're well versed in it. They were brought up to speed with the last building inspector with almost a full year of shadowing him. Much of it being on what you need to approve a cannabis related business. So he's well aware of what's required, and he would have to issue the approvals for it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Tucson?
No, that's it.
Okay, thanks. Belinda?
So I have a question about landscaping, and this brought it up because of Alan telling me how horrible, well, I already can tell, how horrible that soil is up there, and why we were requiring, it's almost like saying you need landscaping in Palm Springs or, you know, the desert. It's because it's kind of almost like the desert there. And I'm wondering if there is I mean, we have what grows is manzanita. Can you groom the manzanita that you've got? And is that part, you know, can you make it, clean it up and make, I've seen people do that, you know, where they top it, they clean it up and all that stuff. Can we come up with something for areas that are so arid that it's a waste of water to irrigate it and plant something? I mean, you can plant a tree, one of the trees that are deciduous to our, or not deciduous, that are indigenous, whatever, to our area. And that makes sense, you know, to plant that. But to start saying bushes and hedges and that kind of stuff, that's not anything kind of close to natural or, and I'm going, gang, what are we doing here with this landscaping when it's something? Alan, can you chirp in here? With
Sure.
Thank you, Alan. I love you too, yeah.
There's the limiting factor in those areas. The soil's bad, but you're right, it's mainly water. But they did mention in the site plan that they're looking at xeriscape type plantings with limited water And even though I think there's a lot to what you're saying in terms of these days of drought, but having it's still one of the most effective ways to provide the relief from the visual relief that we need in this scenic corridor. I think we need to landscape it, and that's the best way to do it. But they have a local landscape contractor who understands, the application of water is tight. They had to put in a special tank up there to have water for fire. I think they'll be careful with water. Hopefully, they're listening to this part too, and just do a very, drip irrigation or bubble irrigation or some low flow technology. And there's a lot of it out there now.
Yeah, I've also seen a lot of dead things beside areas that have such terrible soil, because even with the drip irrigation, they can't handle it. Trees that have
Well, I
died.
think a lot of times they just don't get cared for. And a lot of small cities like this one don't have any maintenance requirements. I mean, a bigger city, they'll say, if your plants die, they'll go in and say you have to replant them, but we don't have that. And you're right, if they fall apart, the landscape falls apart, then there we are.
Yeah, okay, it's just something, I don't know whether we should, someday, whenever we have a planner, we should think about it. Do we, I know it's a screening thing, but when you go to the desert, there's no, there isn't any screening, so they do other things to make it, whether it's rock or, whatever, to make it kind of interesting. I don't know.
Well, it's a lot. It's species selection. It's a lot of it. What kind of plant species you choose to use. We do have a lot of drought tolerant plant species here. Give them a little bit of water. Just tip. It's not very.
Uh-oh, you're done. You stopped. Okay, thank you. Later.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm hoping Alan's next. If his connection comes up.
We lost him.
I think we did too.
That's all I have to say. I'm
Okay,
good with ending that piece of conversation. I just threw it out there because I was thinking about it.
No, I think your points are well made. Okay, at this point, commissioners and staff and
Vaughn.
Oh, Vaughn, sorry, I apologize.
What is he, chopped liver?
Everybody's so tiny. Everybody's so tiny on the screen. Now I can see you. Thank you, Jeremy, or whoever, to make Vaughn seeable.
Okay, so after all that, no, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, well then, thank you. I think we still don't have Alan. Again, please, commissioners, send any notes you have from this evening to help out staff to make this work for next time. If there's anything, Kyle, I guess I'll ask you, do you have from us what you need to go forward?
Yeah, I believe so. I've been taking notes on all of this. I think I have a healthy list of the items that we'll need to address with the applicant. And like Todd said, we'll be looking to sit down with him soon and go over all this and make sure that for the next submittal, all the required elements are there and all the clarifications what we've been talking about are involved.
Okay. So then I'm going to close this item, and because this is a special meeting, there's nothing else on the agenda, but we will see everybody next week at our regularly scheduled meeting. Oh, Alan, you're back. Did you have any more comments or questions before we sign off? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Oh, you don't have any more comments or questions?
No, I don't. Thanks.
Oh, okay. All right. Well then, commissioners, we'll see you again next week for our regularly scheduled meeting, and then we can have comments and questions in our more typical format. Thank you all. You've all done a great job putting together something that wasn't easy. See you all next week. I'm adjourning our meeting until our regularly scheduled meeting, which is Tuesday, August 16th. Good evening.
No motion to close. Okay. All right. Yep.
We got a lobster.
Here, and I don't think you've been here long enough.
Would have gotten a lobster if you were here.